Mike. And okay, Bill, it's now Wednesday evening, about 10:30, so I'm starting to fade away because I've had a busy day. The gang's all here, and we've had a good day today. However, I'm going to tell you whatever I can come up with now. Elaine and I were watching Google the other night there, and she brought up Thornton Street and the lane and the forest in front of where our houses used to be. Now that to me is, I don't know who came up with that stupid idea, but that was ruined the park. It was a nice park where you could sit and relax. It's a long way away, and you've probably seen it since I saw it. I saw it 10 years ago maybe, and the trees were getting bigger. But somebody in the city must have come up with a stupid idea. Anyway, I also remember seeing that the back lane, as we called it, is now called Thornton Lane, because I saw the houses, and on this Google is a great thing. But I guess my brain is still back in the 20s or 50s. Well, I wasn't around in the 20s, but the 30s and 40s, which this is all new stuff, and it's hard for me to digest it all. But I'm doing my best. Elaine, our daughter's trying to get it into Janet and I. Do you still keep your rabbits? No, I guess you don't have rabbits anymore down in England. Maybe your daughters did. I know my daughters, when they were young living here, they had a couple of rabbits, and it just reminded me of all the time we had with the rabbits we had. And I think we got them, and correct me if I'm wrong, up at the top of the back lane, now Thornton Lane, from a guy who had, I think he had chickens and stuff in here, but he had rabbits and he sold his rabbits. I forget what we paid for them, but that was during the war, I believe. So, by the way, I was in touch with Chrissy Stewart recently, and she's still living in assisted living in Mulgai, on that Strathblane Road now, right at the end of the tram line. Well, of course, I know trams anymore, but you know what I'm talking about. And she is doing okay. She lives in assisted living, and her daughter and her husband live close by, and they're both doctors, so I guess she's in good shape. Although what she can't get to, she and Charlie had bought a house down in Lockranda in Ireland, and I remember that place was great. She doesn't get down there too much, you know, because I'm sure she must be at least 92 or 93, but she's still hanging in Mulgai. Now Mabel Redmond lives across the Long Island Sound from where we live. Maybe not too many miles by the crow flies, but to get there you got to get through the city, and that's a pain in the neck. I don't know if you know anything about the Bronx, but that's where we'll have to travel through, and it's a rough place. Anyway, she's doing all right up there too. She now has moved in with her daughter. The daughter built an extension in her house for Mabel, and it's not too far from where Mabel actually lives. And I haven't seen her in a few years, but we're in touch by phone. And let me think now. I'm trying to think what to come up with. Do you still keep your old stamp collection? I technically still have mine somewhere, because I know my grandkids didn't really want that. My daughters didn't want it either, but I still pick a stamp here and there. That's years since I had them going, but it's a nice thing for some kids to have. Now what I'm going to do, my oldest grandson, who's now 17, wanted me to teach him Gaelic, which only Ian MacLeod could talk Gaelic. But we got him this book here. It's all about the Celts, and basically Scotland too. And the other pictures I had sent you, some of them came out of Maryhill, and some of them came out of the canal, which had a good section in Maryhill. What I would like to ask you is, I'm going to have to put my glasses on to read it, I was looking at the Antonine's Wall, which I'm sure you remember, and there's a place, there's forts all along the wall. There's one at Bear's Den, and there's one at a place called Bow Mouldy, and then there's one at Carter. I know where Bear Den is, and I know where Carter is, and all I can get on this one at Bow Mouldy is it's located near the River Kelvin. So it must have been something to do where Maryhill is. It's just I'm curious to know if it was, and I can't Google it up or whatever they do.
No, right, maybe.
So.
Story of Maryhill.
Because near where my mother came
really
from,
big.
and this wall, believe it or not, there's a Roman garrison somewhere down in Loudon Hill, which is not too far from where Muirkirk was. And by the way, I'm still in contact with the gentleman who runs or did run the newspaper in Muirkirk, who was the editor and chief and so forth. And oh, yeah. Did you notice in the picture I sent you of Maryhill? You may. I hope your mind would pick it up. Was the Roxy Theatre, which you remember? And I don't know what. It may be gone by this time. I don't know. But that's a picture of it. And then you can show your friends in England that you live near the canal, which had cruise ships on it. I remember taking a cruise one night with my mother and father, and the Lochburn, there must have been a group, a club or something, and it went from just near the bridge on Lochburn Road all the way to Kirkintilloch. And I was like, you know, a summer night, it was a nice light night till about 12 o'clock, and we took that little cruise, and it was great. It had music going and all that. Now, what else was there in that?
The story of Maryhill. You get its name.
Oh. What?
How Maryhill got its name.
When I'm reading some of these books, and especially the one in Old Maryhill, something I never realized when I was young, I was always looking for this hill called Mary. Now I've discovered that there's no such hill. However, there was an estate called Gascooby Estate, which is somewhere between the Borough Hall and the River Kelvin, because the Gascooby Estate was owned by Maryhill. She was the heir to her father had died and left the estate to her, and it was Maryhill. Now back in don't ask me now, but in the 60s or 70s, when they were building the canal, because it's written down I think on that one of the views I sent you, the canal wanted to come through this area of Maryhill, and she owned the land. So she made a deal with them. They said, okay, so they could build a little shipping area there on the canal as long as they named it after her. And sure enough, that's Maryhill. Now, I don't know if you know that we lived off Lochburn Road. And as a kid, I was always looking for Lochburn. There was no little creek or stream that we could see. The canal was there, but the only water we saw was what came from the mine, down the back of the mine. However, there is a creek or a stream running under Lochburn Road and a pipe. And if you remember where the chemical works was, it would come up there a little bit. Because Mrs. Stewart told me when she was young, the marsh that was across the railroad tracks was actually a loch. So I hope their birthday's coming up, and they said Judy's told us much and she'll let us know how it comes off. But have a great time anyway at it, and enjoy yourself and carry on. You're doing good. Happy birthday, Bill.